Hello everybody, this is Ian here, and welcome to day 3 of my July movie marathon, in which I watched a film called Clockwork Orange. And what can really be said about A Clockwork Orange? It's certainly one of the most unique films that I've ever seen. And not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, it certainly had it was very much what I expected from what I'd heard of it, and also from the description on Netflix, which, I quote, says, "A young man spends his time stealing, raping, and beating innocent people in nihilistic orgies of violence, all in an attempt to get his nightly kicks." The movie definitely lived up to that tagline, especially the first act, which was very much, as my friend described it, intentionally making you as uncomfortable as possible for the entire time. There was all sorts of interesting stuff going on. But then after all that, then we did get into a lot of the interesting themes of this story. There's a lot to unpack here, and fully unpacking this movie is not really why I'm doing this, because if I fully unpack the movie, then I'd probably be here hours. But Act 1 puts you in the right mindset for how this movie is supposed to be viewed. I got to a point where I literally just had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what was coming next. I only really knew anything about the first act of this movie, which I knew was basically this horrible young man, Alex, gallivanting around committing terrible crimes. And then I also knew about the eye torture, which, I knew the image. I didn't really know the context of it in the movie. Yeah, and then we get to the really interesting part of the movie, which is, I guess what I'd call the third act. And that's where we get a lot of really interesting stuff. We got a lot of interesting visuals. Stanley Kubrick, amazing director. I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey before. And I didn't really enjoy it, but I respect it. Because I didn't really go into Space Odyssey with the right mindset. I was expecting more of a sci-fi epic, sort of, and it was that, but not in the way that I thought it was going to be. But that's 2001: A Space Odyssey, and this is A Clockwork Orange. Although there was a 2001: A Space Odyssey poster, I believe, in the magazine store that Alex visits at one point. Stanley Kubrick, great director, and I actually didn't know he did this, but he did, and it shows because he really has a way of bringing themes out of visuals. And I'd also have to say a lot for Malcolm McDowell, who played the lead part of Alex. The acting that he shows is just phenomenal. One of the best performances that I have ever seen in any film. I say that not because he makes you like his character, because he's a young man who spends his time stealing, raping, and beating innocent people in nihilistic orgies of violence in an attempt to get his nightly kicks. But he really sells that character, especially in Act 1, and then in Act 2 and Acts 2 and 3, he really sells... See, I don't really know on what level of spoilers I want to get with this. I'm thinking pretty low on spoilers, so I'm not really going to get into that much more detail on that, but he does a lot of great performances in the second and third act, and just the entire film, he is both the best and the worst part of it. But the worst part in the best way, if that makes sense. And I can also say something for the score. It's not something that I notice a lot with movies unless I really like it, but I really liked the original score in this one, was the really unsettling, like all the tones and stuff like that. It was really weird music, but I really liked it. It definitely fit the film a lot, and what also oddly fit the film was all of the uses of Beethoven, which was this normal, innocent thing being used in just this terrible context of this film. And it really worked, though. And I think it's telling that this film actually does make you, at times, feel bad for Alex DeLarge, the most chaotic, evil person to ever walk the silver screen. Yeah, and that is A Clockwork Orange. Definitely one of the most interesting and unique films I've ever watched, and likely will ever watch. I've never seen another film even remotely like this, and I'm not sure that there is another film remotely like this. Well, I'm sure there is, but not on this level of... I keep looking past the camera at Alex's face staring at me off of the Netflix thumbnail, and it just freaking me out with his single eyelash. Anyway, that's day 3, Clockwork Orange, and that was one of the films that I was most apprehensive about, one of 2. I still got one more, and of the 2, this is the one I think I'm more apprehensive about, just in terms of what I could possibly see, because I had no idea what this film was going to throw at me, and it... Yeah, I wasn't expecting a lot of the stuff that happened, but I also kind of had an idea of what I was going to see, whereas the other film that's coming up, I don't remember what day it is exactly, but that's a film where I know more what I'm going to see, but I'm more concerned about it because it's a horror movie. I'm not very good at watching horror movies. I don't watch many. I much prefer thrillers and suspense. And speaking of suspense, day 4, tomorrow, we're going to be watching an Alfred Hitchcock movie, Rear Window. So join me for that, and I'll see you next time.